So today is November 11th, Remembrance Day in Canada. I think it's called Veterans Day in the States. And of course, my workplace is open, as they open most holidays, but short hours. So today we only worked from 6:45 till 12. And so the store closes at 12 noon. So no more, rentals and stuff like that. But I preloaded 2 scissor lifts for tomorrow, and I was done at 11:30. So dropped off my service phone, clocked out on a colleague's computer, because we have to clock in, clock out at the end of the shift and at the end of the shift. And wanted to go to the gym, but somehow I don't feel like it again. I missed the entire last week, so I'm getting lazy, I guess. But I did, chain a lot, today. I did quite a few loads. It was all with a Freightliner, chaining, unchaining, and I make sure that when I use the binders, I push it, because I really want to improve my triceps and my chest. So I try to do more pushing movements compared to pulling movements, because my back is pretty strong. I can lift like a 70-pound dumbbell in a bent row probably 10 times, but my triceps are much weaker. Triceps and chest are much weaker than my back and my biceps. So anyway, I wanted to tell you a funny story that happened yesterday. So I'm in a pickup truck, Ford F-350, and these older trucks, they don't have a push start. It's an actual key that you put in, and then you turn it to start the vehicle, which that little detail is important, because it means that the fob or the key has no radio signal. So when you step out of the vehicle and you leave the key inside, the car or the truck does not know that the key is there, and and the doors are closed, which would be important, which will you will understand the importance of this in a second. So basically, it was a 3-stop trip. So I had to do 2 deliveries of scaffolding, and then 1 pickup of scaffolding. I'm like, all right, whatever. Of course, I hate scaffolding, but it's part of the job. That's why they pay us the big bucks. And so I arrive at my unloading place, stop 1, which is like northwest, but pretty far, like a real outskirts of Calgary, like the new area. Surprisingly, there was still some cellular signal, and I see a big, like I think it's like a 4-axle truck. They use tandem steer axles, and I think even 2 axles in the back. So yeah, 4 axles, and it has a crane on top of it, and these guys deliver drywall. And usually if I see a truck like that, that's where I'm delivering my scaffolding, because our biggest customer is a drywall company, so they use scaffolding for drywall work. But whenever there's a truck, they always put like a red tape warning around the side, so it's awkward to get in. And plus, they're just moving those massive loads of drywall over your head, so you got to be careful, right? But so anyway, I grabbed my clipboard. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna take the clipboard, put it in the back of the truck, because I have 2 loads, right? So I don't want to make a mistake and unload something that does not belong to stop 1, but instead belongs to stop 2. So anyway, I grab my clipboard and I take the key out, because these Fords, they make a very loud beeping noise if you leave the key in the ignition and you open the door, right? Bam, bam, even it's like so annoying. So before I open the door, I take the key out, I put it on the center console, and I grab my clipboard, I get out, I open the rear tailgate, and I remember that I look at my clipboard and I remember that these guys want 4 casters, and I loaded 4 casters or wheels and 4 those, what do you call them, like where you can adjust the height. Yeah, plates. It's like a plate with a big screw where you can adjust the height. You know, most people order casters because this way they can easily move the entire scaffolding section, you know, to a new location inside the, let's say, garage where they're doing drywall. Or some people, when it stays on the same spot and maybe the ground is not level, they prefer to get these height adjustable plates, you know, so because one side is like this, so they can make the scaffolding be straight, you know, like so that it's easy for workers to sit there, I guess. So anyway, I remember that, hey, I have casters in the back seat, and that Ford F-350 has 4 doors, right? So it's like full body truck. And so I go to the rear left door behind the driver to get the casters. I pull on the handle, it's locked. I'm like, what the heck? So I go to the driver door, pull on the handle, it's locked. I look inside, and all these knobs are down. See, like these knobs? On all doors, the knobs are down. And I walk around again just to make sure. No, all doors are locked. I see the fob on the center console. I see my phone on the front seat, passenger seat. I see my service phone. So basically, I'm left outside in the middle of nowhere in a new area with no phone, no keys. Well, at least I have my wallet, but no way to communicate with dispatch, and everything is locked. Man, so I walked around, I grabbed the handles for some reason one more time to make sure I'm not going nuts. It's locked. All right, so I go to these drywall guys to borrow their phone. I said, guys, I'm sorry, I locked myself out. Can I borrow your phone to call my dispatch? And so I call the office. One of our younger employees picks up. I said, can I please speak to my dispatcher? And she says, hold on, I'll transfer you. And when she puts the receiver down, she actually cuts the call. So instead of transferring me, she terminated the call. All right, I call again. I said, please don't do it. Please transfer me. Do not terminate the call. So eventually I get to talk to, the dispatcher is busy, so I get to talk to the boss who's in charge of hiring and firing. Oh man, that's not a good guy to talk to about locking yourself out. And I explained the situation. He says, how did it happen? And I said, well, I guess in that truck there's this button over here. It's pretty much same location. You see this? Lock and lock. And I said, I'm thinking that when I was closing the door, somehow I hit it with my elbow. But I didn't hear the sound because, you know, when you push it, it makes this sound, right? This is unlock, lock. So I did not hear it, and I didn't have any music on. But maybe it's, yeah, the trucks were, you know, loud. The trucks, the crane trucks that were unloading the drywall, they were pretty loud. So somehow I didn't hear it, that I pushed it. So basically, when I opened the door, I activated the locks, and when I pushed the door shut, all the locks were closed. And that's why I said it's important that why it happened is that all the trucks, they don't have a radio signal, right? If you try to put your key inside in new cars, if you leave your car, let's say on the center console, and you go outside and you try to, you know, push the button to lock the doors, it's not supposed to lock. Like, I don't think, it should stay open. It will not allow you to lock the doors when it can sense the key inside. But these old trucks, you know, you make a mistake like that, you hit it with your elbow, and that's it. And so I asked them if there's a key if there's a spare key somewhere hidden on the pickup truck. They said no. And so the boss, the manager that I talked to on the phone, said he'll bring me the key. And while I'm waiting, I picked up some kind of a wire. So I try to, push it inside. So see, you know how you can pull it in. If you can pull it inside and make a little loop, and you can put it around this, and you can, pull it, that will open the door. But that's super tricky. You need you need to create a gap, and you need those special kind of like a triangles. That's what these tow truck guys do when they open your door. But because the rubber is too tight in there. But anyway, so I have nothing better to do, so I keep playing with that wire, and then I stick it in the door lock, thinking it's an old truck, maybe somehow I can turn the lock and open it. So I keep twisting it. I make a little loop out of that wire, just to imitate the shape of a key, and then boom, all the locks go up. Holy moly. I open the door, I grab the key before something else happens, and then I see the boss who was bringing me the key is pulling up. Yeah, I can leave.
Are you leaving right now?
Yeah, are you gonna stay like this? What are you?
I gotta be here for at least 5 minutes. I gotta take the bin.
Okay, how do I get out? You're too close.
That's what I'm asking, so I can move.
Oh, no, I'll stay here.
Alright, that's why I asked.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, this pickup garbage truck. Oh, I'm guessing he's going inside. Oh, he said he needs to roll out the bin. See, quite often they just grab the bin and throw it on the top, but when the door is like this, right, they have to go inside, open the door, roll out the bin. Actually, these jobs pay pretty good, but imagine sitting in a garbage truck all day, and then at the end of the day, where do you go? You have to go to the garbage place to drop everything. It's like the smell there is unbelievable. But anyway, so when the doors opened, and then I see the manager pulls up some 10 feet away, and I feel super awkward since I already opened the truck. So I go to him and I say, "Hey, I'm sorry that you had to do the trip, but I just opened the doors." He says, "How?" I said, with the wire." He says, "No, it was me. I opened the doors with the remote." And he shows me the key that he brought, the spare key. So I was fooling around with the wire, and when the doors open, I was 100% sure that I'm like the smart guy. I opened the doors with the wire, Turns out that guy decided, I'm guessing, to play a joke. Instead of, he didn't want to get out of the truck, so when he stopped, close by, he just grabbed the key and activated the locks. And another slightly funny story also happened today. So I was delivering a scissor lift to somewhere near McKnight Boulevard, where that big police station is. And I checked the street name and the building number, and I see the big building, and the numbers are huge on the front. I think it was like 5150. That was the building number. And right on the front, facing me, huge sign with the name of the business. I think it was something car repair. Let's say Broadview Car Repair. Huge letters. And my paperwork said, "Park in the front, ground front." Ground means, sometimes it can be a dock or it can be ground, right? So that means that they want it on the ground, fine, in the front. All right, so, and I talked to the guy on the phone before. He says somebody is there, one of his employees is there. He let him know that you are coming. And I said, "Hey, ETA, let's say 8:55 or 9 a.m. And so I'm there, I don't see anybody, so I call him on the phone. And I say, "Hey, I'm in front of this car repair place." And he says, "Where?" I said, "Well, there's a building number right on the front, huge numbers, 5150, and the name of the car repair place. Are you somewhere here?" "No, there's multiple buildings at this address. You have to come inside, just drive inside." And I look further down, there's a bunch of other buildings, but the big number is only on this one. And so, okay, I drive slowly towards, inside towards other buildings, and then I see some guy in a chalma, goes out and starts waving at me. And we talk, and he says, yeah, it's this building over here, which I later learned it's kind of like my condo. There's like 4 buildings or even more, and each building it's the same address, but then each building is 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, right? So I was delivering to building 2,000, which would be good to know beforehand. And this guy says, could you back to the end of this building? Well, no problemo. I'm super good at backing. Unlike what I was when I was trying to pass my AZ or Class 1 exam. A quick note, once I was in Ontario with my tractor trailer and the RGN, and I unloaded and was just driving empty home to Cambridge, Ontario, where I parked my truck. And there was something about a road unpassable for trucks. I thought that's BS. It cannot be that bad. And then I come to the spot. It was like the weather was good. Everything was great visibility. I think it was summer or spring. And there's like a little hill. I'm on top of a little hill, and it goes down, but then it goes like this. And there's like some bushes in the middle, and it's super sharp. So you cannot make it with a tractor trailer without your wheels going in the ditch. And the ditch was super deep. Either it'll go in the ditch or it'll go in that where the bushes are, and the bushes were also in the hole. And so what do? I start backing, and the nearest way to do a U-turn was like 2 kilometers away. I kid you not. So I had to back 2 kilometers. So I found that, in reverse, I can switch to higher speed, with my shifter over there. And I was probably doing like 40 kilometers an hour in reverse for 2 kilometers. Took probably, 10, 15 minutes. So that was good practice, Brrr. And actually now, whenever I operate scissor lifts, for some reason I prefer to drive them in reverse. And so I stand in the back with a controller on the side, and I just basically the rear wheels turn for me, and somehow it's easier for me. So basically, now I'm good at backing. So anyway, I'm good at backing in this situation as well. And so the guy is kind of like flagging me, showing me, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I look in the mirror, I see there's like a line of cars in there. And of course, I'm in a tilt and load truck, so I need space for the bed to go down, right? And I slow down, not sure, if that's where he wants me, but this guy says, go left. Basically, I was backing, and then he says, go left with my, rear of the truck, go left. And so I start going left, and I look in the mirror, there's a bay door. So he backed me right to the bay door. And I'm like, I cannot believe this. So I stop the truck, hit the brakes, go outside, and sure enough, he stopped me like, 10 feet away from the bay door. And I said, I need space. This deck moves, I need space in the back. I cannot unload like this. What do you think? The scissor lift is gonna fly out? And he's like, oh, you don't have to be rude. Rude? I didn't say a single bad word, but you were pointing me, you were backing me towards the bay door. Like I said, what do you want this? Are you gonna work inside this bay door? He says, yeah. So I said, okay, if I drop the machine in front of the bay door? He says, yes. I said, okay, let me take care of it. So I drove the truck forward some 10, 20 feet, so I have enough space in the back. Dropped the machine for him, and hit my chains, got in the truck, and I look in the mirror, and I see he's struggling. He cannot get the machine. He went on top, and he cannot get the machine to move. And I know exactly what happened. Like, for some reason, many people are not aware of this. So I'm guessing he didn't have enough experience with scissor lifts and with backing, helping people to back. So, and I'm thinking, I know what's going on. So, you know, if this was a good situation, I would come over and I would say, hey, this is what you do. But I see that the guy is doing something. He's pushing buttons, but nothing is nothing is working. Whereas 2 minutes before, it worked fine for me, right? And I'm thinking, no, this guy called me rude. I'm not gonna just get out and so I keep doing my paperwork for the next run. I'm checking my map, okay, because yeah, I had my next stop was picking up a boom lift, and so I'm just punching in my, address on Apple Maps, and I'm sending the text message to the customer saying I'm coming, and then the worker that this guy said was on site, so the worker runs to my truck and he says, "Sir, could you please talk to my boss, he has a question." And I'm like, okay. So I go towards the scissor lift and he says, "Oh, it's not working." And I just, without, no emotions, I just said, well, the machine goes to sleep if you don't touch the controls for like about 15-20 seconds. So he gave me the control. I said, you have to push this button, this green button, move, which is because there's two buttons in there. One is for movement, because it's a scissor lift, right? But the other one is for up and down. So the machine, basically, you tell the machine what you want to do. You want to use the controller to drive forward or backwards, or you want to use the controller to lift the machine, to lift the platform, right? And so I said, yeah, it goes to sleep. Push this button, it'll restart the active mode. And he says, okay, thank you. All right, I said, have a good day. And that's it. And I left. So, but that was kind of like funny how the guy backed me towards the bay door. And actually, I don't know why, but quite often, many people find these big tow trucks, they don't comprehend how they work, Like another quick example, another quick story that happens pretty much every second day. When I go to a dock, right, let's say the paperwork says not ground, but dock, delivered to the dock, let's say some kind of Sobeys or Real Canadian Superstore, so they want it on the dock. Okay, but what I do is, so let's say this is the dock, right? But I can back all the way towards the dock. The problem is that I have a wheel lift in here. This is my bed, right? I have a wheel lift which sticks out a little bit. So if I try to go all the way to the dock, my wheel lift will hit the wall before the bed does, okay? And plus, especially when I have a heavier machine, I always put the wheel lift down like this to use as support, because it's very strong. It never goes up and down once it's on the ground. And so I stop like this, maybe, I don't know, 1 meter and a half, like what is it, 6-7 feet away from the dock where my bed is, right? And I activated the hydraulics. I go to the back and I use the levers, and my wheel lift usually sits like this under the bed, right? So I just drop it down until the whole truck sits on that wheel lift. But I'm still like this. And quite often I caught people, like, let's say the receiver or the ship or whatever, they open the bay door and they're waiting for me, and they kind of look at me and they scratch in their head, And each time I have to say, my bed goes back, my bed moves. And they're like, okay. And they still don't understand. And so then I take all my chains off and, increase the RPM so it moves fast. And I either use my remote or I use the levers under the bed, and I move the bed like this. And they say, oh, that's great. That's how it works. And then they keep standing. And I said, could you guys lift the plate? For some reason, it never occurs to them, So let's say this is a dock, right? So I back to the dock. Well, you leave some space, but still there's a gap, right? So a scissor lift can get stuck in there. So I said, guys, could you, lift the plate? So so finally they understand what I mean, and so they lift the plate, and the plate goes like this on top of my bed, and then I can drive the machine over. But again, for some reason, these tow trucks with hydraulic beds that have been around for, I don't know, 2,000 years are still a mystery to a lot of people. Thanks for watching.